Shalom everyone again, this is Amir Tsarfati. I'm live from London, Heathrow. I am at Terminal 5, waiting for my flight to Washington, D.C. So I have a hotel room. I'm going to stay here for a few hours. I'm going to try to sleep and then get on the plane tomorrow to fly to Washington, where I'm going to attend congressional breakfast with 30 congressmen and talk to them about Israel and about Bible. I made it very clear to the organizers, I'm not coming to speak about politics. I'm going to come and speak about the biblical significance of supporting Israel. And so it's going to be very interesting, and I hope that you guys are going to pray for me. From there, I'm going to have 3 more conferences to attend and speak before I go back home. But before that, I just wanted to talk about the unbelievable 40 hours that we went through, we're still going through right now, with more than 700 rockets that Hamas and Islamic Jihad were launching towards Israel in the last 40 hours. Folks, there was at some point a barrage of 60 rockets in 1 minute. And the only thing I can think of that I saw, or the only thing I can compare it to, is when you see those massive military drills of big countries such as Iran and Russia and North Korea, when they launch so many rockets at the same time. And you understand, of course, this is the nightmare of almost every country, is to be exposed to barrages of hundreds of rockets. Now, I want you to try and imagine your country, wherever you're from, because there's a lot of people from different countries right here. Imagine that your country is being attacked right now for 40 hours with barrages of altogether more than 700 rockets that are launched towards very heavily populated areas, big cities such as Ashkelon and Ashdod and other cities around. I want you to try and understand what it means to live under such a condition. And the funny thing is that while those rockets were flying towards Israel, the Hamas was showing parties going on in Gaza. There were some birthdays and weddings. I mean, they were just celebrating. I mean, you would think they're the poorest people on planet Earth. They're having fun there, while our people have anything between 5 seconds to 2.5 minutes to run, depends how close you are, to run to take cover before the rocket might hit you. And Israel, over the last 48 hours, launched 320 strikes on terrorist targets. 320. So they are sending rockets, and that gives us, of course, the legitimacy to go and strike back. Israel has a bank of targets, like I think every country should. But this time we really surprised them, And let me explain how. What happened is, and first of all, you know what? Let's stop. Let's go back. Why did this whole thing happen? Tomorrow, the Ramadan begins. Ramadan is, of course, the most important month in the calendar of the Muslims. It's a whole month where they fast throughout the day and eat throughout the night. And this is the month where you spend a lot of money on festive dinners, of course, every night. And then at the very end, you have the Feast of Sacrifice and all of that. So this is a month where we know that they pray more times, they are more dedicated. By the way, when you fast throughout the day, you're way more focused. I just want you to know. You're way more focused, you're sharper. And so they eat only at night, then they go to sleep, and they continue to fast all throughout the day. And normally, like in every country, when you get into a holiday, there's extra expenses, and of course you want to have big dinners and all of that. And a lot of people in Gaza don't get salaries because, of course, Hamas is not paying them anything. Hamas is brutally literally robbing his own people. And then every time the people are trying to demonstrate against the Hamas, of course, the people of Gaza is nothing against Israel because they understand the ruler of Gaza is not Israel, it's Hamas. Then Hamas is shooting and firing at them live ammunition and immediately suppressing everything there. So what happened is Hamas said, we want money. And up until now, Qatar used to send a specific envoy with literally pieces of luggage, suitcases full of cash, believe it or not. Now, why is it that they want cash? Let me ask you. How come they don't want it as a wire transfer? How come they don't want it to go towards specific thing? Because terrorists always want cash. Remember that. When Obama paid Iran, he paid Iran billions of dollars in cash. And so Qatar is paying the Palestinians, so to speak, salaries or so to speak, allowances in cash. Now, because Israel is having a border, a joint border with Gaza, and we have 2 million Gazans there, and we understand the desperate situation there, we have allowed that money to flow in order for the Gazans to at least get something. Apparently, Hamas got very greedy, and they, the more you give them, the more they want. And so they didn't get their money on time, not from us, but from the Qatari representative. And when everybody were looking for him, where are you? He's in Washington, D.C. right now. He's in America. He says, what do you want from me? I'm busy. I mean, I have some medical issues that I take care of in Washington, and so don't expect me to come. So the Gazans are saying, okay, the Qatari guy is not coming with money. We want money. Nobody is going to give us money. How do we get the attention of the world and the Qataris that we need the money? Oh, it's very simple. We fire rockets at Israel. It always works. Every time we need something, the easiest thing is to fire rockets at Israel. Now, watch this. Everybody's watching them doing that. The Israelis are watching them doing that. This is why they voted for Netanyahu. Because the Israelis know the progressive, lunatic, crazy left liberals who wants to give the Palestinians more land will give us another Gaza in the heart of Israel if we evacuate more and more land and give it to them. So Gaza is the biggest example of why we should not give the Palestinians a state, because Gaza is almost a state by itself with its own borders, its own government. We're not there. And the way they run themselves is a mafia that wants money and that is very, very cruel to its own people and is using terrorism. So you understand that Gaza is probably the greatest example of why a Palestinian state can never work. So what happened is Israelis are watching it, and that's why they voted Netanyahu. But not only the Israelis are watching it. President Trump is watching it. His staff are watching this. Secretary Pompeo just said that Israel has all the right to defend itself. Hello? What country will not defend itself when it's attacked by 700 rockets within 40 hours? So basically, Hamas is causing the number one superpower in the world, which is the most relevant one right now as far as the dealing with peace between the Israelis and Palestinians, to be absolutely convinced that a Palestinian state cannot be a solution, and that any solution where Hamas stays with arms and not being completely disarmed can never, ever bring peace or lasting peace to the region. Now, let me also explain. So it started with them wanting money because the Ramadan begins tomorrow. Qatari representative is not there. They're shooting rockets. Israel decides this time it's not going to work. If last time, which was just about a month and a half ago, you did it, this time we're not going to allow it. And Israel did 4 things that we did not do in previous times because we didn't want to cause Hamas to fall, because somebody has to rule those 2 million Palestinians, and we sure don't want to be there. So we normally always got to the point where, okay, you did yours, we attacked ours, and okay, let's have a ceasefire. This time, Israel said, okay, you guys went a little bit too far, and we are not going to tolerate that. And Israel is now striking, of the 320 targets that Israel striked. Let me tell you what we did. For the first time in quite a long time, we started assassinations from the air using drones. We have very, very quality intelligence. We know exactly where the commanders are, who is in charge of what car he's driving, what color the car is, where is the car, and we strike the car the minute it drives on the road and kill the person. The guy that we killed today is the guy that is in charge of transferring all the money from Iran to Hamas and Islamic Jihad. He's the money guy. He's the key person to get the money from Iran all the way to those terrorist organizations. So you understand, terrorist organizations will always produce terrorism. Terrorism always needs cash. The number one sponsor of terrorism in the Middle East is Iran. The money goes all the way through that person, and he's the one who gives them. And they don't give it to hospitals, and they don't give it to salaries, and they don't give it to schools and kindergartens. They don't give it to the people. They build more rockets and more tunnels and more bombs, and they smuggle so many things. By the way, we know of some very sophisticated weapon that they have, and you know where they hide it? All the commanders, the Hamas commanders, hide the sophisticated weapon in their own houses. Because they know the Israelis will never destroy our houses. We have kids and we have women. And I don't know if you know that Israel is the only army on planet Earth, that when we are about to strike civilian building, we call it knock on the roof. We send a small bomb to just scare the people. It cannot destroy or hit anyone. And we call them and we ask them to evacuate the building. And 2 minutes later, we destroy the building. We call them, then we scare them, and then we strike the building. No other country does it. When you know that terrorists are inside and you know that weapon is inside, and we do that. And we destroyed several houses today and where do you think the commanders of Hamas live and the leaders of Hamas live? In the Beverly Hills of Gaza. It's called the Rimal neighborhood. Everybody knows that the Rimal neighborhood is secured and nobody will ever touch it. So they allow themselves to put their weapons and to dig tunnels there and to live there because they know Israel won't touch it. Well, we touched it this time. In the residents of the Beverly Hills of Gaza, Rimal, are very, very disturbed. These are the wealthy people of Gaza. And I want to tell you, folks, that's when the Hamas and the Islamic Jihad, on one hand, to the microphone, says, we're going to destroy the Jews, blah, blah, blah. But in secret channels, they begged for ceasefire. This is how the Arabs do things. They always want everybody to think that they are so courageous, and they'll talk loud, and they will always, threaten you. But then, in secret channels, they will beg for ceasefire. And the Israelis this time said, no ceasefire this time. We are going to strike until you guys will stop your shenanigans once and for all. And so we strike those commanders' houses with sophisticated weapons in there. We strike headquarters. Israel also managed to foil a cyber attack on Friday coming from Hamas. And today we destroy the headquarters of the intelligence and cyber warfare of Hamas. We destroy that building completely. We strike from the air, from drones, and we kill some people. and we destroyed also the offices of the Ministry of Interior and other places. Folks, the Palestinians know they went a little bit too far in Gaza, and they're now begging for a ceasefire, and the Egyptians are trying to broker a ceasefire by midnight today, which I believe in Israeli time, this is in 15 minutes from now. I know the Palestinians are really, really looking forward for that, because they understand that the Israelis, right now, if you look at the highways in Israel, we have hundreds of tanks flowing towards Gaza right now, hundreds of armored vehicles flowing towards Gaza right now, and we have a whole brigade of infantry, the Golani Brigade. We have the Armored Brigade of the 7th Armored Brigade with the Merkava, the chariot tanks. And Israel is preparing for a massive, massive ground operation in case the Palestinians will not stop their shenanigans, basically. So, in having said all of that, as I said, more and more Israelis are convinced that there cannot be any solution that will include evacuating more land and giving them to Palestinians anymore. Gaza is our example. The peace plan that is going to be introduced, I think that it will actually be received way easier, although it's going to be a disaster for the Palestinians, because it's not going to be a state for them. But the world understands what it means to have a Palestinian state. The world now understands that it's going to be barrages of rockets. It's going to be always extortion of more money. And people understand now, in light of this stupid behavior, you know, as I said it yesterday, the Palestinians never missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity. Guys, when we cleared Gaza in 2004, they had all the resources in the world to turn Gaza into a Riviera with hotels and with restaurants and with the greenhouses for agriculture. Literally, the World Bank gave them unlimited account, and Israel left the greenhouses there of our own farmers. And we were hoping that they'll do good, because when they're doing good, we're doing good. We want quiet and peace on our border also. But all they did is destroying everything we left for them and turning every place that Israelis used to live there into a terrorist camp. It's all they know. It's all they do. Terrorism, terrorism, terrorism. If you look, these are terrorist organizations. That's why President Trump, he's the first president that put the card on the table and says, look, the Revolutionary Guard, this is a terrorist organization. The Islamic Brotherhood, the Muslim Brotherhood, it's a terrorist organization. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization. Hamas, terrorist organization. Finally, someone calls the kid by his name. Finally, someone is looking at the reality. And I admire this president, because I think that no other president in history was facing so much opposition, not only from the outside, but mostly from the inside. The collusion is not a Russian collusion. It's actually a democratic collusion to topple a democratically elected president and to just put on him some dossier and some Russian collusion allegation that are actually just nonsense. And I think it's time for him to go after those people right now and bring an end to that stupidity. I don't know how the media is not really giving a fair and balanced coverage of this, because in any other country, when something like that would have been uncovered, and when you see that there's a whole collusion of one political party to topple a democratically elected president, then you know something is terrible around the corner. So I just wanted you to understand more. So 700 rockets, 320 terrorist targets were destroyed. Unfortunately, the terrorists used the Cornet laser-guided anti-tanks missiles, Russian-made, that they have. And today, 4 Israelis got killed. If the first phase yesterday went without any casualties, unfortunately, starting from 2 a.m. this morning, a direct hit in the city of Ashkelon, and then we have another city and another one in Ashdod just a couple hours ago. And we have 4 of the 4 Israelis. One of them is actually an Arab, and that the Palestinians just killed. And it's heartbreaking to see that 4 people lost their lives in the last 30, 40 hours. But I can tell you one thing. If you told me that 700 rockets would fly and hit populated areas and only 4 people would kill, I would still call it a miracle. I would call it a miracle because I know exactly what those 700 rockets are capable of. And I know that at least in 2 cases, they were using those vicious Russian-made Kornet laser-guided anti-tank missiles, and they hit some vehicles. And these are very, very bad guys. So, guys, that's what is going on there right now. They want money for the Ramadan. The Qatari guy that always give the money, Santa Claus for them, did not show up this time. And so they're angry, and because they're angry, they shoot at Israel. And if that's how the Middle East should be run, by a group of terrorists that whenever they need something, want something, and they want to get whenever they're frustrated and they want the attention of the world, they just shoot rockets. If that's how we want things to be done, then give them a state. If you don't want that, then fight them. And you know, the problem is that the world still fails to understand that these people are not a nation. They've never been a nation. There is no nation called Palestinians. They never lived as a nation. They hate each other guts more than they hate us. By the way, we estimate roughly 10 to 20,000 Gazans that are leaving the Gaza Strip towards Europe every month via Egypt, because it's terrible to live in Gaza. It's terrible to live in the West Bank. I mean, their own governments are terrible to themselves. And I want to tell you something. Israelis, not only that they don't leave, they come from all over the world. Jews are coming to the land of Israel. So we see that the enemy that wanted to kill us from within is now leaving, and the Jewish people that used to be far away are now experiencing so much anti-Semitism all over the world that they're now coming back to their land. And to me, this is prophecy being fulfilled. The Jewish people are returning back to their land. And as you know, and I've always said that, the biggest danger of Israel is not the Palestinian, it's not a Palestinian state, it's the enemies that are coming from the north. It's the big, massive armies of big countries that it's not Hamas or Islamic Jihad. By the way, we could have destroyed them long ago. We don't want to. We don't. With 2 million innocent Palestinians are living under the terrorist regime of Hamas, and we feel sorry for them. We feel bad for them, and so we try as much as possible not to hit the civilian population and only to strike the terrorists. But those terrorists, you know, there was one case today where a Palestinian rocket exploded. Their own rocket fell in the wrong place, exploded, killed a pregnant lady and, her, of course, an unborn child and another baby. And the Palestinians blamed Israel for that. They shot the rocket. Unfortunately for them, it didn't make it. And then finally, Arab media is no longer that deceived. And they reported the Israeli claims that it was a Palestinian rocket after all. And the Palestinians know that it was their rocket. But of course, it's easy in front of the camera to shout and scream, "We're being attacked." They forget to say that they started shooting rockets. And what do they expect us to do? Nothing. So when we strike, now, by the way, 2 things. The United Nations Human Rights Council that is attacking Israel every second is keeping quiet. Now watch this. The Palestinians are shooting at Israeli civilian population. And they're shooting it from civilian populated area in Gaza. So it's a double crime that they commit. And I hear nothing from the Human Rights Council of the United, nothing. That's how I call them. You see the hypocrisy. Now, once Israel retaliate and the Palestinian says, oh, we're being killed, immediately very, very urgent meeting of the Human Rights Council to condemn Israel. Now, how stupid it is. Now, you can fool some people all the time or all the people sometime, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And I think that it's about time that the world will get his head out of the sand and just understand that they're being fooled and played by the Palestinians, and it's time to move on. And I think President Trump got it, and I think his team understands that unless the world around us guarantees that the Palestinians are not having their own state, but they're having some sort of I would call it autonomy, with no weapons and no rockets and nothing. And unless the Arab world around them is contributing to the financial in the economic development of the Palestinians, unless that, nothing's going to happen. And I think that the Trump peace deal is about that, helping the Palestinians in economic development and creating a situation where Israel will be able to live and tolerate it, and it won't be anymore a case for battle between the two. This is it, folks. I just wanted to, I guess, give you an understanding of what is going on. I want you to know that all of this will lead eventually to the Palestinians not having a state, I believe. And I believe that that is exactly the reason why Netanyahu is back in power, is still in power, because the Israeli left, the crazy liberal lunatics that live in La La Land, I don't know where they live, thinking that giving more lands to the Palestinians will solve the problem. Having peaceful solution. What peaceful solution? They want everything. Peace. The only peaceful solution they want is us out and they take over the whole thing. Or they add to our population all of theirs, so they will eventually take over from within. That's not going to work. And that's it. And we are welcoming them going back elsewhere. But I'm just telling you, folks, I see that. And look, I just left Israel. It looks like there's a big war there, but I'm very confident. I'm not afraid. I've got 2 kids in the military right now. My daughter just pledged her allegiance to the Israeli military today in a ceremony without the parents. She received a rifle and a Bible. The Bible is why we're here. Maybe the rifle is what we use to defend ourselves, but the Bible is the deed. Why we're here. Palestinians have no Bible to say that this land is theirs. They don't, even the Quran doesn't say that this land is theirs. Jerusalem is not even mentioned one time in the Quran. The Arabs cannot claim ownership over the land besides ever since the 6th and 7th century AD, when they conquered it. But historically, when you dig and you go deep, all the coins and all the pottery and all the structures, these are all going back to the time Jewish people lived here. Ancient Hebrew, you don't find ancient Arabic here. I mean, any Muslim remain in the land of Israel is only from the 7th century on. So who's there first? To whom this land belongs? Who is the one that was promised to return back here? Look, I'll tell you something. The funny thing is people don't understand. The Jewish people did not really want to come back here. God brought them back here. God used this unbelievable, insane hatred towards Israel that led the Nazis to almost try to annihilate them, to eventually rescue them and bring them all the way, as Ezekiel 37 says. And he says, I, the Lord, have spoken it, and performed it. He says, I will bring you out of those graves and I will set you on your own soil. I'll bring you to your own land. And he said to the land of Israel, not to Palestine. And he said, it's your land, not anybody else's. So the Bible is our deed, is our will. It's our ownership paper. And therefore, every Israeli soldier, when he's pledging his allegiance to the state and to the military, he's being given those two things, a rifle and a Bible. And my daughter got her rifle and Bible today while I was on the plane. It was a ceremony that parents were not invited to. It was done within their own thing, and so we only got pictures. But I'm so proud of her, and I'm so proud of a country that is not forgetting its past and its heritage. And you know, a country that forgets its past has no future. And the Palestinians have no past here. So therefore, I don't see them having much of a future here. And by the way, make no mistake, I don't think there's a single Israeli that wants to fight with the Palestinians all day long. All we want is them to leave us alone and just live in peace and don't fight. As I said yesterday, folks, you know, if the Palestinians will lay down their weapon, there will be no more war. If Israel will lay down its weapon, there will be no more Israel. That's basically how things are. And so that's why we have a country and we have a strong military, and we're not into taking anybody else's land. We want our land. That's why our military is called Israel Defense Forces, IDF, and not Israel's conquering military. We do not, I'm against the term occupied territories. We don't occupy any territory that was not ours. It wasn't a state before of the Palestinians. There was never a Palestinian state in the history of the world. So we didn't occupy it from anyone. Jordan took it from us and we took it back from Jordan. Egypt took it from us, we took it back from Egypt. We didn't take it from the Palestinians because they never owned it to begin with. This whole lie and deception that we took it from them is an old lie because they never had a state. There was no state that we took it from and they want it back. They want it, but it's not back. They just want it and the world wants to give it to them. And I think every round of violence that we see today is pushing that further and further and further away from them. And that's what we see. So I hope I helped you all understand the situation, and I hope I help you all understand what's going on. I truly believe that they will never dare to shoot rockets at Israel during our Memorial Day for the fallen soldiers and our Day of Independence, because if they do, I think it's the end of Hamas in Gaza. And I think they know that, and I think they already know they crossed the line, and I think that they're begging for a ceasefire. I'm not going to be surprised if by midnight today, maybe very early hours of tomorrow morning, that will be the end of this cycle of violence. So thank you for listening. Thank you for logging in. I think you may be able to understand everything better right now. Stay tuned. If there's something else to report, and just to give you a bit clarity, I will gladly do that. Again, I'm going to board the plane tomorrow, fly to Washington, D.C. I would be more than honored and happy if you could, and blessed if you could remember me in prayer when I meet with a group of congressmen. And later on, I'm going to have our Waiting is Return conference in Canada. There's another one in Parker, and in between, I'll be speaking also in Tennessee. And so I really, really need your prayers, and also pray for my family back home and for my team around the world. We've encountered a lot of attacks, and we trust and count on your prayers, as always. Let me end up with the Aaronic blessing. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance towards you and give you peace. He is our peace. He is the Lord of peace and the Prince of peace. And there will be no peace in the Middle East, in Israel, or in Jerusalem even, until the Prince of Peace will come. So we pray, come, Lord Jesus, come. In his name we pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you. God bless you. Shalom from Terminal 5, Heathrow in London. And next time we talk, I'll be either in the UK, in the United States, or in Canada. God bless you and shalom. Bye-bye.